Okay. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the School District of Waukesha, December 8th, 2021, full Board of Education meeting. Thank you for coming out this evening on probably our first winter night that I would consider, and we do have a pretty good audience tonight. To kick things off, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So will you please take the roll call?
William Baumgart.
Here.
Corey Montiel. Greg Deep.
Here.
Amanda Roddy. Here. Kelly Piasek. Here. Patrick McCaffrey.
Here.
Anthony Zenobia.
Here.
Karen Reinacek. Here. Joseph Como.
Here. And so will you please also let us know if we were properly posted?
Yes, we were.
Well, thank you. To continue our healing process from the Christmas parade tragedy, I asked Amanda Roddy to say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. President. To our Waukesha community, our neighboring communities and school districts, and School District of Waukesha families, as family members and friends in the community, we, the board and administration, want you to know that our hearts are still with you. As we reflect back on the past couple of weeks and begin the process of healing and just absorbing what took place, rather than think about the whys, let's focus on the whos. Close your eyes and see who went running in to help. Look for those who ran away with others in their arms. Look for the businesses and neighbors who opened up their doors for warmth and safety. Look around and see, hear, and feel the love coming into our little community from around the world. As our community continues to heal, we want to reiterate that our focus is on our kids, our staff, and our families, and making resources available to them. We stand with our community and are one of the resources of support. Again, we want to thank the surrounding districts, the Waukesha community, our local healthcare partners, the Department of Public Instruction, the Governor's Office for their support of our district during this time. We are parents and we are neighbors in the community with you. We are hurting and we are angry. We're sad and confused. We're grieving alongside you. And yet we are thankful. We're thankful because there is hope, and we are Waukesha strong.
Thank you, Amanda. At this time, I'd like to have a moment of silence in remembrance of those that we lost. Thank you. Our caring words and our loving actions for one another has been really amazing and has been really helping in our healing process. Another example, this evening, about 6 o'clock, the CEO of Cousins Subs, Christine Specht, stopped by, and she handed a check to Jim and I for $10,000. And these funds were raised by those of you who visited Cousins. I don't know which day, but yesterday maybe. And wow, so grateful for all those that have really come together and have helped in a whole variety of ways, monies and well beyond giving money, giving our love and our kindness to one another. And my hope is that this care and love that we have for one another continues to shine on for a really, really long time. Moving on to our meeting now. We're going to start things off with bright lights. We have from Horning Middle School, we're going to be looking at our advisory and house structures. So we have Mr. Blessington, Principal Blessington, that will introduce our Horning students. Welcome, Bob.
Hi.
Has anybody left at the school?
I'm going right behind him.
So you're going to be introducing the entire school, is that? We have a lot of guests tonight. No, there isn't. All are welcome.
Well, so I appreciate being here, especially today. Thanks for the moment for us to reflect, and hopefully this sheds a bright light and a positive aspect to some things we're doing at Horning. We've been here before, specifically to talk about our house model that we have at Horning. A really important component that I want you to, a bright light we're going to talk about today, is our Horning advisory structure. So the best part of this presentation is this is going to be really 100% student driven. I'm going to step to the side. My job is to rotate through the slides.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah, I got my part. So, ready? You can grab the mic too.
Yeah, we can pass, we could actually pass the microphone, sure.
Hello, we are students from Horning Middle School, and today we will be talking about advisory.
Is it on?
Needs to be turned on. There we go. There we go.
Hello, we are students from Horning Middle School, and today we will be talking about advisory.
The teachers with us today are Ms. Torres, a 8 dual language teacher, Ms. Gendrich, a 6A teacher, and Ms. Figueroa, an instructional coach.
Ms. Ankman, the Dean of Students, and Mr. Blessington, the Principal. I am Melanie. I am Rot.
I'm Sam.
I'm Dashel.
I'm Jose.
I'm Javita. I'm Arzu. I'm Merari.
I'm Marco. And I'm Caesar.
Second step. It can help students learn how to deal with their problems. For example, bullying, cyberbullying, self-confidence. It can help us connect with others and can make us feel safe. Thank you for listening. Do you guys have any questions?
Oh no, we're not quite ready for that part yet. We're not quite ready for that part.
Do you have questions for your second step?
I think we'll do the questions at the end probably, right? Yeah. So what they're going through right now is just the different components of our advisory program, and one being second step. So, hey, Dasha.
We use the website Zello to find a career that works for us. It uses a series of tests to figure out a job or career that works for any student, as well as giving us multiple choices for that specific career or job.
Sorry. What am I doing? Just mine. Right. Sorry. Each year we take a Zello image test. This reflects on how we prefer to learn. This can reflect on how our teachers can put us with certain tasks or objectives and how we perform to complete these objectives. Sadly, our other friend couldn't make it here tonight, so I'm just going to read for him.
From sixth grade, we work on something called our learner profile. It helps us set up future goals and also helps us get an idea for a future career.
In advisory, we get to make relationship with the students. It's a time where we can talk about our life problems and communicate with each other and things that we need help in.
We also get to, we also get to build relationship with our teachers, where we could talk about our real life problems, where they could give us advice or tips on how to overcome them, where in other classes we may not have the opportunity to talk to other teachers like we can to our homeroom teachers.
Our advisor is our point person. For example, if there's concerns from other teachers, they go to our point person to help understand your skills, interests, and frustrations.
The point person can build relationships with other students in their advisory.
The point person can also help with your problems in school or out of school.
How does the Horning advisory period make you feel? We put together a short video showing how a couple different students feel when they're in advisory.
Thank you for listening, and do you guys have any questions?
What questions may we have for them? Mr. Baumgart.
Excuse me. Can you tell us how this got started and how you guys, maybe I have to understand this. Is everybody involved in this, or is this a group?
Yeah, so I'll get just some logistical pieces. Our daily advisory period, it's 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. It goes from 7:30 to 7:50. So it's a school-wide advisory program. Every student is assigned an advisor.
Okay. One or two of you tell us why you like to get involved in this.
I'll go. So one reason I think advisory can be helpful, or why I personally like it, is because we build a good social environment in the morning to make everyone feel happy, safe, and warm whenever they come into our building.
Excellent. One more, come on.
What's your favorite part about advisory?
Right here.
Something I like about advisory is how it makes me feel happy, calm, and ready for the school day.
Good. Thank you. It's fine.
Any other questions?
Mr. Zenobia.
Yes, you said the Zello program or app helps you find a job or potentially going to college. Have you all gone through that, and you've all been,
Yes.
it's all given you a profile of what you-
Everybody does it.
And so how many of you have found a job? You are all great reps of Horning, really. You've done a great job. I really appreciate it. And my comment, I guess at this level, it's interesting to have a program that would actually give them a little bit of guidance. Do any of you feel like what you did on Zello is accurate about what you think you'll do or what you go study in college?
Yes, I do, at least.
What was it, if you could share?
So what it does is it gives you, so it has all of a bunch of different jobs based on like how you answer your questions, and it tells you based on how good of a match it is and how much money it pays, and so it gives you like the top like 10, and you basically can like see like, oh, these are things that I'd be well suited for.
Do you remember some of those items?
Yeah, I had actor, artist, a lot of like mostly creative things like an engineer, and things that I can be like handsy with and like basically just like get into the project.
Before you took the test, did you already feel like that would be the direction you'd go?
Yes, I did, and I think it very accurately represented how I feel about a job or career.
Another thing, just, I also took the test like he did. I actually went into it thinking I would be more of the artist kind of person, but I was very surprised to find more engineering and chemical engineering, environmental engineering. Even teacher popped up on there. I was very surprised about that one, but I would never expect I would be any of those, but it surprised me, really. Anybody else?
Even though it surprised you, do you think you'll maybe consider those?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, some of these careers I didn't even know existed until I went on that app and figured it out for myself.
Yeah, great, great.
Anybody else?
Dr. Piasek.
Welcome, everyone. You guys did a really good job. The first thing, I'm just going to give you some feedback in the moment. A couple of you I noticed while you were speaking, actually, I think you apologized while you were looking at your notes or something. We didn't notice. So just know that you can make a mistake or you can check each other. It was really cool to see you guys collaborating with each other, and you don't have to apologize for that. You did a really good job with your presentation. As far as career stuff, now I'm just curious, are you all in the same house and grade, or are you an assortment of houses?
No, I think we have some dual language kids. We have kids from Flight Academy, our regular schooling. We have literally kids from all over the school.
And middle school is a really important time for deciding what you want to do with yourself from a career perspective. And I think for me, starting to have access to electives in middle school was kind of a cool thing. So how has what you've learned about yourselves and what your potential career paths might be, and advisory itself, have you had time to think about electives and what paths you might take? 7th, 8th grade high school? Any of you?
I think I want to be a mechanical engineer for my career.
I think, personally, when it comes to electives, it can really help find, we can pick and choose some of our electives, which is really nice. And it can kind of see, oh, I kind of like, this skill, maybe I could work on that, and that could be a potential career.
Did any of you get stuck in an elective that you might not have wanted and it turned out to be something that you really liked? I see one person nodding. Yeah? What was it?
Me?
Yeah.
I got in art, and I didn't really so I'm not a great artist. I mean, really bad at it. But I got into an art class in 7th grade, and I didn't want it. I wanted more engineering classes, but I got into it and I was like, oh no, I gotta take art. But then once I got into it and I got to my first couple projects, it started to become really fun, and I think that even though it wasn't one of my top choices, it was pretty good in the end.
That's great to hear. Thank you guys for being here.
Any other questions, comments? Yeah, Mr. Bungren.
I just want to add to that. For everybody, think about, your example was really good about engineering and art. I'm an old engineer, we have a younger engineer here, but there's an awful lot of creativity that you can use in engineering, you better use in engineering. So art will exercise that creativity. So all of you, when you're looking at those opportunities that are popping up, don't just automatically say no, because you might end up doing, downstream, you might end up doing something that's really connected with you, and you don't want to say no to it at your level. So be broad with your searches, because you're going to be surprised some things are going to show up you didn't expect, and that's a good thing.
Anyone else? Mr. Dietz.
Everything I read about future generations tells me that you'll be involved in several careers over your lifetime, not just one. Unlike some of the older people, including myself, that are sitting here, that stayed in one field for their entire career. And that's okay too. But I think it's important to explore those different areas and to keep your eyes open and to always be ready for those challenges and have that confidence to take the leap to try something different. So that's really important. I was always, I guess as a student way back when I was in school, this would have been really helpful to me. And do you just take this test once?
Oh, we take it once every year, yeah.
Okay, once every year. And then just a final question about, you said something about the assessment helped determine your learning style.
Yes,
And
it
could
does.
someone talk to me just a little bit about that, and if they agreed with what the assessment said or disagreed, or maybe just learned something new about themselves?
Anybody who talked a lot?
Marco?
So I actually took the test, and I got more of a hands-on kind of learning. I never really enjoyed just learning from a screen. I always never found it enjoyable. So whenever we had certain science experiments or certain models of projects, those always just got me in the learning type mood and always just made me happy when I could make a finished product of some sort.
Do you know what that's called? Did they give you a label or a term for that kind of a learner?
I believe it. So there are actually 3 total, and it's visual, audible, and tactile. And tactile is the hands-on kind of learning. Visual is, eyes, and audible is hearing. I mean, I could guess that you guys could hopefully guess that I kind of got tactile.
Did you know that before, though, that that's the type of learner you were? Or maybe you did, but you just didn't put it in those terms?
I mean, our teachers they kind of gave us certain, I guess you could say somewhat small mini tests that I could kind of see, now being that kind of ideal, or just kind of testing if, he's a tactile, or, he likes learning with his eyes. That's what I really learned from that.
And I think it's really helpful for your teachers to know that too, because in middle school, unlike elementary school, where the teacher might only have, well, not only, I shouldn't say only, might have 25 to 30 kids in their class. Middle school, those kids are coming in and out of a teacher's class all throughout the day, different students. So they really have to get to know their students in a different way. So I think that information would be extremely important for your teachers. Nice job, by the way. Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, thank you. You have really helped us to understand advisory and some of the things that you're doing there and how it is helping to set each of you up for success in the future. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for being yourself, and we wish you luck going forward.
Thank you.
Tonight, we do not have any recognitions, so we're going to move on to our student representative report, and that's Waukesha North tonight. We have Samantha and Sienna. Welcome.
Hi.
What are you going to tell us about North tonight?
I'm basically just going to tell you about what's going on in our school. Okay, so I'm Sienna. I'm a senior at North.
And I'm Sammy, also a senior at North.
So we have a little presentation for you guys. It's getting loaded. Okay. So first we'd like to touch on our marching band. We've always been very proud of our music department. So some of their competitions, they had Band Fest, which was at North, March Fest, which was at South, and a couple extras throughout the season. They placed second at the Wisconsin State Marching Band Championship in Whitewater, which is pictured on the screen there. So we're very proud of them this season. Next we have choir. We had a fall concert, and that went very well. We have a Disney trip with the Waukesha South Band and Choir as well that South actually opened up to us, which was very cool. We had a retreat with some of the middle school students in choir, so we got to make connections with them and kind of show them what they could expect once they get to that high school level in choir. So that's the picture there. We got together at North and had a nice fun day with them. Last night, actually, we had a concert with the middle schoolers. The chamber choir went and sang with the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And we have a new director this year, Miss Jennifer Schwingle, and she's been doing an amazing job. So we're very lucky to have her at North.
And then next we have academic decathlon. There was a local competition where we placed 6th, and they will be going to regionals January 6th and 7th, and then on to state and nationals if they're able. And then that's Wednesdays during lunch they meet. And then we have Key Club as well. Key Club, we trick-or-treated for canned goods, where we went around to different neighborhoods in Waukesha, and we trick-or-treated for canned goods. We are going to be doing a cookie baking for first responders and different elementary school staff members in the Waukesha area as well. And we did make Thanksgiving baskets for low-income families at North.
So next we have our drama club. They had their first show, I Hate Shakespeare, and they performed that November 18th through the 21st, and it was very successful. We just started this week our musical performance of Chicago. We started our rehearsals, so that's going very well so far. They also performed the one-act Stop Culture, and they made it to sectionals. Yearbook, we are also very proud of our yearbook staff. The students work very hard on the yearbook. They finished their first deadline, so that includes the layouts, the interviews, and the photos. They've been working very hard on all of that during their class time and even outside of class. They put a lot of time into that. They have 314 books already sold. We have made $21,965 in sales so far this year, which is pretty huge for yearbooks alone. And their goal is to sell 500 yearbooks.
Next is our boys soccer. We did make it to regional finals, and we won the first playoff game with 8-0. We grew the student body a lot through support through an Instagram account, so feel free to go follow that. Next is Ecology Club. They focus on small changes around the school and trying to improve the environments, less garbage in the streams, and they will be revamping the school gardens as well.
Next we have a Peers for Peers group at our school. Recently they've done presentations in the 9th grade health classes, touching on spreading information on mental health so that our students know that it's not something that should be awkward to talk about. You should be open to talking with your peers as well as trusted adults that we have all over our building. They've also been touching on information on drug and alcohol abuse so that our students are educated and can educate others as well with the proper information. Next we have our girls tennis team. We had 3 Classic 8 honorable mentions, which are Mahaney, Rachel, and Danny. Mahaney and Rachel were double partners, and Danny played singles this season. We also have a doubles partner, Jasmine and Megan, and they had an exciting third set tie-break win this season, which was very stressful, but they pulled through for the team and made the win.
Next is our dance team. They placed 3rd in D2 hip hop at a competition in Franklin. They're hosting an alumni dance routine December 17th at a basketball game, and they're actually also hosting a dance benefit in support of the extreme dance team tonight. And there are schools coming from all over to help raise money for the extreme dance team. We also have boys cross country and girls cross country. Everyone had a PR at sectionals, and there was a full varsity team for sectionals. JV team won the first meet at Palmyra Invite. Patrick Wills placed 57th in 2018 at state, and this year he placed second. So he did very well for our school.
And then in the picture, it's the girls cross country team picking up trash around the neighborhood surrounding North. So that was a fun little activity they did for some team bonding. I added in the wrestling team because they have a lot to be proud of, and it's not even far into the season. They usually don't have a lot of guys that come out for wrestling, or females for that matter, but this year they actually have 33 guys on the team, and that's pretty big for wrestling. And they consistently have 33 guys coming. So the season started on November 15th. They got to work with a 3-time NCAA D3 champion, Nazar, and he actually has his own gym, and he coaches kids. So he came and taught the guys some new moves and taught them the kind of mindset that they should be in when going into matches and tournaments. So that was really great for the guys to get to see like how far people can come in the sport that they love. The first meet of the season was December 2nd against Wisconsin Lutheran, and the varsity won 63-9. And one of their students, TJ, he got a pin in the first 13 seconds of the first period, and it was his first win on varsity in high school, so that was pretty big. They also had a tournament in Watertown last weekend, and they placed 4th out of 17 teams with over 300 points for their team overall.
Next is just a few sides. We did participate in Jerseys for Jackson on last Friday. So these are just different pictures from around the school, different staff members and different students. We all came together and wore jerseys.
And here's a group photo that we took. We had the students come in the morning to take a group photo. This really showed North coming together to support our other schools as well, and we have friends at South and friends at West, and just knowing that we support them and that we support each other and bringing us together, even though like it's kind of a stigma that we're like rivals, but it's times like these that we really can show each other even more how much we do care for each other offside of the court and everything. Here's a couple more photos. And that is our presentation for you.
What questions may we have? Ms. Reincheck.
Thank you. You guys did a great job, ladies. I just had a question with your wrestling team. So what's new this year? I should know this, but do you have a new coach? Did they just rally differently?
So they had a new coach last season, but not a lot of guys went out for it due to COVID. So kind of all the guys that wrestled their sophomore year and had to skip their junior year, they're all back. So that's a big thing. And then also just the environment that they have there. The coaches are very positive. They all support each other, and they always play mat ball at practice. And so that kind of gives them a break from the seriousness of like the drilling and everything, which is more appealing than having to come to practice and sit there and drill and drill and drill Monday through Friday, you know, so that gives them more motivation, and guys spread the word around the school and say like, hey, like this is a really great sport, like you should come and practice with us, like just come check it out, you know. And so everyone's supporting everyone, and we have a senior, Devin, and he has been in wrestling for a long time, so he's kind of taken upon himself to have that leadership role, and he's been bringing in a lot of underclassmen, so they've filled like a lot of weight classes that way as well. So it's just the environment, I think, is what brought more guys out this season.
And how did you know that answer? Like, you went into depth about
Yeah,
playing
so
mackerel
I'm the
and all-
team manager.
Okay.
I'm the team manager, so that's how I know. Yes. And
I
I'm
would have
close
thought
to
you
a lot
guys
of
would
the
look at each other and be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You gave specific details, so.
Right.
Well, great job.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Baumgart?
You're both seniors, so at this risk, we're going to ask you what you got planned for the future.
So I'm actually accepted to WCTC for their dental hygiene program. I've been wanting to be a dental hygienist since I was little, so I've had a lot of support through that. My dental hygienist also went to WCTC, so kind of gives me someone to go to learn the process. And my counselor, Ms. Stigler, as well, she's been a really big help in that. So I'm in the Start College Now program, and I've been finishing up some of my classes for their prerequisites there. So I got 3 out of the 8 done already, and then I'll continue to work once I graduate.
Great, thanks.
And then I want to be a secondary education teacher, so I am not exactly sure where I'm going to college yet. I'm still waiting on some acceptances. I've got accepted to one of my top 3, but I'm still waiting on acceptances. I've just been building my profile as a student, getting involved as much as I can, and taking just AP classes, just trying to build that up so I can get accepted to the colleges I want.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Anyone else? Well, thank you for that report, bringing us up to speed at what's happening at North. We will see you again a little later this year, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, guys.
Well done.
A lot of good things going on, North, yes. We're now at the section of our meeting where we provide an opportunity for the citizens to address the board, and each individual, as in the past, will be limited to 3 minutes of time. At the 2.5-minute mark, we have our technology, right? That's going to be giving you a little bit of a warning, saying that you have 30 seconds left, and if you could wrap up your comments within the 30 seconds, we would appreciate that. We do have 15 speakers tonight, or 14 speakers, just so you know. And we expect all speakers to honor our time limit, refrain from using any inappropriate language in any manner, and be respectful in their comments. Speakers who do not meet these expectations may be prohibited from speaking at future board and committee meetings. We also expect that the audience will be respectful of the speaker and of the board, and refrain from responding with verbal comments, cheering, applause, or other behavior that may detract from the meeting. Please note that no obstructions can be created between the board and the audience, and that the area behind the speaker and podium will be clear during the public comment. Also, in order to respect our speakers and meeting participants, please silence your phones at this time if you haven't already. And also, we'd appreciate you addressing the Board of Education tonight and not the audience. Our first speaker is Becky Gillian. On deck will be Carrie Kozlowski. Hi, Becky.
Hi, I didn't know I'd be number 1.
You're number 1.
I'm number 1. Okay, hello.
Hi.
Hi, so I'm telling a personal story tonight about bullying, but not because it's something that is unique just to me, but because my experience is similar to countless students from the past, students, current students, and future students. I was a socially awkward kid, immature, possibly on the spectrum, and in 8th grade made a stupid social mistake that led to terrible bullying. I went from being largely ignored to never being left alone. My hair was touched to see if it was greasy. Cow eyes from science class were thrown at me. I was called a Jew and possible worse anti-Semitic remarks that I didn't understand at the time. I was never called by my first name, only my last name, and that was said in such a way that my bus driver stopped me on my way off the bus and told me he'd report those kids for calling me that. I remember a boy behind me in foods dragged my chair around with his feet while I desperately turned around and pounded on his shins with my fists, hearing all the surrounding students laughing and wondering why the teacher in the corner wasn't helping me. In fact, teachers were often present when kids were tormenting me and ignored what was going on. I didn't dare report anything. I was terrified of making it worse. Finally, my friend convinced me, after several tries, to go to Mr. Stowe, the principal at the time, and the teachers then finally seemed to make more of an effort to keep an eye on me. So when developing your anti-bullying policies, I want you to know that this experience affected my entire life. My 8th grade year, I contemplated suicide several times. I've had low self-esteem my entire life and suffered from anxiety and depression. My low self-esteem makes me crave affection, causing me to pursue emotionally damaging relationships. So bullying does not end with school. It lasts a kid's entire life. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. Carrie, followed by Eric Eagers. Welcome, Carrie.
Good evening. I wanted to begin with my sincere thank you to Dr. Siebert and Dr. Cook for your leadership these last 3 weeks. Despite our brokenness, the sense of community and support that this has built is overwhelming. Thank you. Last month, I briefly discussed the significant trend over the last several years of highlighting 60% of Waukesha students are not proficient in any school subject. As a taxpayer, it is critical to understand how the review and approval of the curriculum funding is monitored by administration and the board to ensure academic results. This review by administration and the board would then make recommendations to improve student achievement based on those performance results. It appears that the current administration and board oversight are not looking and seeing what we should see in the teaching and learning committees and appropriately managing student achievement results. This should be a recurring agenda item for the Teaching and Learning Committee and the overall Board of Education. As a parent and a taxpayer, it is beyond frustrating to learn that over half of our students are not meeting basic proficiency standards. This administration still has not transparently communicated your plan on closing this gap and the district's progress towards meeting proficient student results. This board still is not prioritizing this highly enough to demand accountability from the administration. In the absence of the administrations proactively doing this themselves, we need to push this forward. A recent veto by Governor Evers of a bill passed by both houses of the legislature would have mandated public schools to ensure transparency for parents. This now provides an excellent opportunity for the Waukesha School District to lead in this region and this state, ensuring all parents have access to their child's classroom materials online. This district does not need permission from a government to be transparent. It doesn't need to have a mandate from the legislature to ensure that we have transparency to our parents occurring what's in their children's classrooms. As all of you know, there are no better advocates for the success and education of the children of this district than the parents. That advocacy can only happen when the district is fully transparent about what is being taught in their children's classrooms.
30 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Eric, followed by Allison Kuwerski.
I wanted to make it known how disappointed I am in the board's non-action last month in the misguided signage policy enacted by the administration. I'm baffled by the notion that the signage that was removed was divisive. At last month's meeting, one board member said that a pride flag divides people and counters the notion of all being welcome. The very foundation of the pride movement is inclusivity. That's why it has all the colors. It stands for the respectful and equitable treatment of all people. A pride flag is a perfect example of the message that all are welcome, that all have the right to be respected as human beings. This same board member also said signs don't change the culture. I imagine some historically infamous propaganda directors would disagree on that. But one thing signs unarguably do is clarify, represent, and reinforce the desired culture. They exemplify what behaviors and attitudes are ideal, and which will not be tolerated. If we won't tolerate bullying and discrimination, how is it not a good idea to remind the bullies of that? Some student with a propensity for targeting LGBTQ+ students for harassment might see these signs saying all are welcomed and diversity is celebrated and basic respect is a right, and they might think, my ways don't seem welcome here. Maybe I'll keep my hateful, bigoted mouth shut. And that will mean one less slur being shouted, or one less shove into a wall, multiplied by the number of times they'll reconsider their actions, multiplied by the number of students who may have acted that way. It'll be that many fewer disruptions, that many fewer distractions for those targeted students from focusing on their educations and excelling as they're meant to do. This policy was no doubt enacted to avoid controversy. It is long past time to own up to that failure and to make amends. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Allison, followed by Haley Williams.
My name is Allison Kolinsky. I've spoken at meetings before about how the removal of safe space signs, pride flags, and anti-racism signs has negatively affected the safety of the students, but the removal of these signs in schools is currently endangering students more than ever. A parent of a student at Waukesha West High School is organizing adults to contact parents and guardians of students who are speaking at school board meetings and are members of the LGBTQ+ community. The parent is saying that this is supposedly organized in order to help students who are to be able to get the support and counseling that they need, since it is no longer known that they are safe at school but due to the lack of signs. But in reality, this is only outing students who are LGBTQ+ and putting these students in unsafe and potentially threatening environments. Many of my peers have told me about how if their family found out they were members or supporters of the LGBTQ+ community, they would be kicked out, disowned, or even worse. Several of my friends and peers I do not even know have told me that their parents have been called and messaged by the adult organizing this. Not only are they contacting the parents of students, but also family, friends, and other adults, and outing students to even more people, endangering them even more. This is going far past the issue of bullying and is now becoming an issue of being harassed by students in school and by grown adults outside of school. Every time I've asked any of the board members what they are doing in order to help issues similar to these, they say that they are listening to students. This is a complete lie, because if you were listening, I'm sure it would not have taken nearly 4 months to come up with a solution, which you do not even have yet. A board member has even been quoted saying, "We're not doing anything. They're here for themselves," when talking about students such as myself who speak at these meetings. This really shows how little you care about the students who you're supposed to be helping, and I hope you all feel incredibly ashamed to know that you are currently failing your job of creating a safe and functional learning environment. In fact, by continuing to postpone your decision on this topic, you are worsening the safety and functionality of schools. And I cannot even begin to fathom how you have not worked to get a solution with the current safety issues in Waukesha schools. Please make meaningful decisions and hopefully a solution soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Haley, followed by Erica Kachansky.
Hello, my name is Kaylee Williams.
Kaylee, I'm sorry.
West, you're all good. I would just like to start off by saying, after the events of last month's board meeting, every student who was here to speak on behalf of the safe space signs left this room completely defeated. Not only did you completely miss the point of why we are so passionate about these safe space signs, you missed the point of what we really needed. We talked to you and we told you that our lives are in danger, that our friends' lives are in danger, that people we consider family are in danger every single day. And you proceeded to tell us that these signs, these potential lifelines for right now, are not good enough. We are aware that those signs cannot fix the issues that penetrate all of our schools. They are deep-rooted issues within the system, things we need to fix internally and at administration and board level, things we are asking you to do. I provided you several solutions at the last meeting, such as enforcing a zero-tolerance policy and actually enforcing it this time, actually holding your students accountable for the things they do and they say. After I left this meeting, the day after, I heard 3 separate incidences of slurs yelled at my friends in the hallway, and I've heard several instances of kids being threatened just because they looked gay or were gay. These are the instances that you don't get to see on a daily basis because we don't have names and we don't have faces, but we hear them happen. We hear them happen every single day. I am personally lucky enough that I don't need a safe space, but I have several friends that could really use the simple picture on the wall of a rainbow that says, "This place is safe for all ethnicities, all religions, all races, all sexualities, and all genders," up on that wall. It is the one reminder we have that West could potentially be a safe space. It is the one reminder any school in the district has that there could potentially be a safe space. And without those signs, you are missing a crucial step in potentially reaching solutions with students. By not listening to what we have to say, you are completely missing the point. Those safe space signs are simply just a reminder that things will get better. Right now, nothing looks like it's getting better. So we ask of you to really communicate with your students and really tell us what you're doing. What are you doing?
30 seconds.
Where are we going? Thank you.
Thank you, Kaylee. Erica, followed by Marilyn Granger.
Hi. So I don't think that this constitutes as me speaking to the audience. I'm not going to look over there. So let me know if I need to stop.
You need to address the board tonight.
Okay.
That's the purpose of...
Right, and I think that you'll hear what I want to say. I guess, and I'll shift from what I have written here. The reason that I came here was because I want to say I'm sorry to the students that have been showing up to these meetings to self-advocate, kind of on behalf of many of you. I left the last meeting wondering how the students were able to keep their composure because I was barely able to keep mine. The condescension, the equating things that, whether it was an audience member doing this or a board member doing this, equating things that they had gone through when they were younger with what their experiences are in school as a reason for not allowing signage is absolutely ridiculous. Just because we went through something difficult doesn't mean that everyone has to go through something difficult. We don't normalize this as an experience. We do better for the next generation, right? Isn't that what everybody wants for the next generation, is that they don't have to go through the things that maybe we've gone through that are difficult? Why? They are telling us what they need. Dr. Siebert, Dr. Cook, I sent a training to you for how to support autistic LGBTQ+ students at school. I know that you had access to it from November 12th to December 12th. I'm not sure if you've watched that yet. You told me that you would. No one else on the board here responded to me saying that they would watch that training. I watched that training.
30 seconds.
Number one message, listen to the students. Listen to what they say. Use their pronouns. Use their names. Use signage. No, it does not fix the problem, but it helps. They're telling you it helps. What else do they have to do? I am so incredibly proud to be in a district with students like that. I am not proud to be in a district with what's going on here.
Thank you, Erica. Marilyn, followed by James Touchstone. Welcome, Marilyn.
Thanks. Thanks for this opportunity. I just wanted to keep critical race theory in our minds. because some school systems are still having a lot of trouble with it. I'm assured that it's not in our schools, which is wonderful. And hopefully it's not by some other name, because they have been known to change the name to throw the parents off. So if it's not in our school system, fabulous. But let's not forget that it's out there and it's ugly, and we don't want to let it creep in. If it's, it would be bad. And the other concern is, parents have brought up about the sexual books in the libraries and the schools and the main library, and I'm wondering if those, if anybody's followed up to make sure those books have either been pulled or that students, like in the second grade, were being exposed to stuff like this under the title of a sex class. So I would like to make sure that those things have been pulled and our students are getting those kinds of classes appropriately for their age. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Marilyn. James, followed by Paul Reese. Welcome, James.
Hey, welcome. Good evening, I'm James. I'm here to talk a little bit about school security and transparency. I know that we have a deteriorating situation around us, due not to anything that we've done, but it seems to be due to a catch and release and light on crime type situation. And unfortunately, our kids are right in the middle of it. We need to be proactive and not reactive. In the 2 year, my daughter, who's a senior now, has been involved in a school shooting at South, and then the family at the Christmas parade, we were standing right in front of her when the guy drove through the South Band. So my youngest daughter was there, and my other daughter was, she's a freshman in college right now, was on the other side where they were. It was a horror. Evil has visited us. And then 8 days ago, it just came alight today from, according to a news report, that a student from Butler carjacked an 87-year-old lady and raped her at the Waukesha Public Library. And all we got from the school was a letter that had vague disclosures as to why the school was shut down. 8 days. Evil is amongst us. I think we need to take immediate action steps and be proactive and not reactive. Some of the things I would suggest that this board debates is hire more police officers for inside and outside the schools immediately after the school area. One officer per school doesn't seem to be doing it right now. I think we should allow concealed carry on the schools by the teacher, administrators, and other people that are licensed to carry it. We have to be on the lookout because evil's amongst us. My question is, if this perpetrator was a student, did he harm any of the other students at the school, and have we looked into that? I have no idea, but I'll bet that if you're going to commit that horrendous of a crime and get caught for it the first time, this wasn't the first time that he's been a predator in our schools. I think we need to start looking really hard at who we are allowing in our schools for transfer policies. We've seen the case that happened out east where one school just moved a problem to another school, and then it became horrendous as a young lady was sexually abused in a bathroom.
30 seconds.
I think that we need to look at, for those of us that are older, we'd seen the problem with the Catholic priest. When you have evil and predators and it gets transferred around, we need to be proactive and not reactive. It's my kids that are out there. It's the community's kids that are out there. And for the 8 hours that they're at school, it's your job to help keep them safe when I cannot.
Thank you, James. Paul, followed by Monica Wheelie. Welcome, Paul.
Good evening. Number of students failing at least one class in 2019 at Waukesha North was 54, and in 2020 that number rose to 292, an increase of 440.7%. In 2019, South had a total of 135 students failing at least one class or more. And in 2020, that number rose to 387, for an increase of 186.7%. In 2019, Waukesha West had a total of 74 students failing at least one class or more. And in 2020, again, that number rose to 268, for an increase of 262.2%. Again, I do not consider this a high watermark. That 2019 was not a good year by any means, and yet this is what happened because of a choice of a few. 'Tis the season for filling out nomination papers. Soon the elections will be held. Greg Dietz, Bill Baumgart, and Amanda Rhodey were the ones that decided to put our kids last and put them out of school, and this was the result of that. So hopefully the spring will have different results for this board. This was something that was done late at night, and to say that our elementary school students transfer viruses different than our middle school and high school students is and was absurd. The kids needed to be there. They needed to learn what little they learned in school at school, because they learned absolutely nothing out of it. We always talk about the regression of summer. This was a regression of a year. Also, I wanted to address something that the Patch wrote last month, and it's claimed that I was, and I want to be clear, I'm not a teacher, and I have never identified as a classroom, so I don't know why they felt that they said that I was, because of what I said about propaganda and wearing this shirt, that it was propaganda.
Please address us.
I am. So and then I wanted to address Mr. Siebert. There is a difference between disagreement and
30 seconds.
And there is disobedience going on in our schools. And we can have a disagreement. I have disagreements with my bosses. With my boss, I've had many of them. And at the end of the day, I'm not disobedient when I lose that argument, because I lose it eventually. He's the boss and he pays. This can be addressed in performance reviews, and it ought to be addressed in performance reviews who those continue to be disobedient. So anyways, thanks. Sorry.
Thank you, Paul.
Your time is up.
Monica, followed by Joy Jacobs. Welcome, Monica.
Good evening. I came here tonight with a different speech, but due to some very recent circumstances, I'm speaking on a slightly different issue. An experienced, highly trained kindergarten special education teacher in her first year in this district was just suspended because she has a pride flag in her classroom. My niece, Sarah Whaley, believes wholeheartedly that the flag represents the district's non-discrimination policy. She believes that all students are guaranteed a safe educational opportunity. Our policy clearly states that sexual orientation, including transgender status, change of sex or gender identity, is a part of that policy. Our district policy. District leaders, are you now stating that your own policy is so political that you will suspend a teacher for displaying a welcoming pride flag to show students and the teachers that hers is a safe classroom for all? The directive sent on August 20th never mentions LGBTQ materials. I was told that it was never meant to be included, but someone in the administration wrongfully included it. Instead of clarifying and correcting, they decided that they were just going to keep it the way it was. Then what was meant to be implemented in only the high schools and the middle schools suddenly now includes elementary schools. Every single school in this district enforces this directive differently, based on its own administration. Teachers never received an email regarding the LGBTQ change Only the principals receive that. Why? We're the ones that have to implement that. It never came to teachers. Sarah's dedication to her students is incredible. Part of her daily wardrobe are knee pads because she
30
has students
seconds.
who are mobilely challenged. She spends her own time finding out about their medical needs of her fragile, beautiful students. Her career has been steeped in diversity and inclusion work for disadvantaged, disabled, and minority children. To quote Mahatma Gandhi, the true measure of any society can be found on how it treats its most vulnerable members. Waukesha, we're in trouble.
Your time is up.
Thank you, Monica. Joy, followed by Dave Richmond. Welcome, Joy.
Hi. So I've repeatedly heard from adults that bullying isn't as big of a deal as we're making it out to be, or it's necessary to build character, whatever other excuse it is. But last Friday, I was helping with pickup at Lowell when a third grader called another third grader, or another student, the R slur. This is behavior that starts in the elementary schools and continues throughout high school and beyond, and it's deeply rooted. School is not a safe place. It is not a safe place for neurodivergent students when they hear the R slur, thrown around. It is not a safe place for queer students when rainbow safe space signs are torn down. It is not a safe space for anybody when getting bomb and shooting threats has become the norm. We are a community with trauma. The school district of Waukesha needs to become a trauma-informed school district. I've sent information from various trauma organizations to everybody on the board. This includes reworking our discipline process. It includes empowering school staff with the tools they need to help students, and it includes giving students the resources we need to empower ourselves. It includes creating a school community where all are welcome. Over half of all American children aged 12 to 17 have experienced some form of trauma. And if you're not going to do anything else, this is the bare minimum you can do. If you're saying signs won't help with this trauma, do something. Do anything. We need to become a trauma-informed school district. Thank you.
Thank you, Joey. Dave, followed by Keith Best. Welcome, Dave.
Good evening. Wanted to start and show gratitude from the community for how the district and the administration responded in a very, and I know I'm understating this, very difficult time. True leadership showed through, and as a community, it was comforting that leadership stepped up, made clear that the students' priorities would be placed first, and that was, to me and members of the community, very positive. So thank you for those clear moments, whether it was speaking publicly or putting out announcements and putting out information, to give information out to parents and students. Back to last month, 120 plus speakers had spoken up till that point. I actually have stopped keeping track. And I was blown away by the lack of preparation brought by the Board of Education as well as administration brought into last month's meeting. It was requested that the superintendent present data-driven facts of why the sign policy was not taken care of. Deputy Superintendent did the majority of the speaking on it and really didn't address any of the issues. Wasn't data-driven, wasn't number-driven, it was based on stories. I've heard, that is not data-driven. Jobs are given and responsibilities are needed to be followed up on. Accountability. And to the board, to come in ill-prepared after 120 speakers, some of them heart-wrenching, And a quote stated, "I didn't come in with anything prepared." Then what in God's green earth have you been doing for the last month, 4 months, when all these speakers are here? What have you been doing? The Waukesha murders have presented Waukesha strong. That is signage. That is visualization. That is a message to get behind, to know that Waukesha is working together, and as together we can
30 seconds.
be strong and get through tough situations. To not have signage policy based on politics, whether it's right or left, is absolutely incorrect. To take, the district and the administration must take proactive approach. Howard Zinn has stated, you can't stay neutral on a moving train. Please understand that statement and implement it.
Your time is up.
Thank you, Dave. Keith Best, followed by Samuel D'Amico. Welcome, Keith.
Hello, everyone. At a previous board meeting, I mentioned the fact that I was very proud of the education that my sons received at the Waukesha School District, from Saratoga to Horning to Waukesha South, graduating both of them with B+ average as student athletes. I was very involved with their education as a volunteer at all 3 schools in different capacities, going on field trips and helping coach and up through the high school. They both went on to colleges, and they both become solid citizens, good husbands, and excellent fathers. I have 3 grandchildren that are now in the Waukesha South School. The Waukesha School District. Those 3 grandchildren, I'm worried about their future education. I have a question. As I was very involved with them, with my sons growing up, I'm concerned about my grandchildren, and I'd like to know, and I did some investigating on the school district website, and I didn't see anything about this, so I thought I'd ask about it here. What does the person who is Director of Equity and Diversity do? And how much are they paid? Because I could be wrong. I looked through the website. I didn't see anything on this. So I'd like to know if anybody here could tell me what the Director of Equity and Diversity does.
We don't answer questions.
Okay, well, I would like, then I'll send emails out, because I want to get an answer on that. And that's all I have to say, so you can expect my email. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Keith. Samuel? Hi, Samuel. Welcome.
Good evening. And to start, Mr. Dietz, just want to say I love your T-shirt. I think as Dave said it, we can all agree that signs can make a difference. I agree that the results that we saw at yesterday's T&L meeting was unacceptable. Yet we have to release ourselves from the mirage that we can only focus on one issue at once as the Board of Education. The most significant concern we have, I'm sorry, I'm going to go back for a second, I'm sorry. We need to focus on the issue of bullying and school culture if we want to make an impact on educational outcomes. Right. The most significant concern we have with the issue of bullying is how much we are being ignored. We have come to, I think, this is 4 months now, so at least more than 4 meetings, speaking about this issue. It got into a few agendas, and now it's nowhere to be found. This topic is not on the agenda tonight, which it should be on T&L every single month, until we can be assured that this issue has been made some progress. There's a parent in the district targeting kids who have chosen to speak up about this issue, contacting their parents, potentially outing them to parents who do not accept them, potentially causing danger or harm to them. Why any of us would be okay with that is unacceptable. We need to hold students accountable for their actions. We need to hold teachers accountable for those reports, hold teachers accountable for making children comfortable reporting those incidences, and we need to hold administration accountable for supporting teachers in that effort. That many teachers have gone to this Board of Education and so that they aren't being supported right now. We can look at numbers, we can look at the district in the past, we can look at what administration is saying they have heard, but nothing changes what students are coming to this podium and are saying. Nothing is changing what parents and teachers are coming to this podium and saying. And I think that instead of looking at statistical data, we need to listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Samuel. Thank you, everyone, for addressing us this evening. Moving on to our minute approval, we do have 3 minutes, sets of minutes to approve. November 10th, 2021, regular board meeting. November 10th, executive session. November 29th, executive session and expulsion panel. Is there a motion for approval? Moved by Mr. Bumgard. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McCaffrey. Any discussion? Okay, Sue, please take the roll call vote.
William Baumgart.
Aye.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Aye.
Karen Reinacek. Aye. Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Amanda Roddy.
Aye.
Greg Dietz.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye.
Joseph Como.
Aye, passes 8-0, Sue. Moving on to our communications. Dr. Siebert.
Thank you, Mr. Como. I do have a few for the board this evening. The first are the Classic 8 Sportsmanship Awards for each of our 3 high schools. Starting with Waukesha North, they are the recipient of the Sportsmanship Award for the Classic 8 Conference in multiple sports, including football, boys and girls volleyball, boys cross country, girls tennis, and girls golf. So we certainly want to congratulate all of those student athletes, all their coaches, and Mr. Brian Schley. At Waukesha South, they are Classic 8 Conference Sportsmanship Award winners for boys volleyball, girls cross country, boys cross country, girls tennis, girls swim, and girls golf. So again, congratulations to all of those student athletes, coaches, and Mr. Dan Schreier. And at West High School, they are a sportsmanship winner in the Classic 8 for girls golf. So we certainly want to congratulate our girls golf team coach and Mr. Kyle Lemieux. And then I also just wanted to mention to the board that we have a plant in the back. It's a nice floral basket that came to us along with a very nice card from the school district of Nakusa. And we also, Sue and I had a visit from the school district of Horicon, 3 of their seniors and their superintendent with a gift for the Waukesha South Band just this week as well. So over the next month or so, we'll continue to give you some additional updates on the amount of outreach, and I'll do more of that in my superintendent's report as well. So, thank you, Mr. Cole.
Thank you. Do you know if we have a Waukesha Education Foundation report this month? So I don't believe we do.
I don't believe we do.
Waukesha Education Foundation report we don't have this
Oh,
month?
no, we don't.
Okay. All right, thank you. Moving on to our charter school and program report given by Mr. Bumgart.
Yes, received from Maria over at the South School some news about WEPA and I better say it. Waukesha Engineering Preparation Academy and the Waukesha Association Academy of Health, HP. Lost it. You know who.
Yes, our Health Academy.
So she's got a couple updates to share, Maria. And the first one, the Engineering Academy was awarded a $3,800 grant from the SPE Education Foundation, which will be used to purchase more 3D printers. I got room for a smile on this one. When I tried to find out what this SPE was, I found out first it was a Society of Plastic Engineering, or Plastic Engineers. There's an S on the end of it, but it's really Society of Plastics Engineering.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, I just got a smile out of that one. Anyway, additionally, the Engineering Academy continues to significantly exceed expectations for their school report card. This is a testament to the work of our teachers and students. The Health Academy improved their report card and is currently exceeding expectations for their school report card. Again, this is a testament to the teachers and the students. And yes, we know there's a little bit of a change in the way things were scored this year, but it's still very positive what they're doing at the Health Academy. And lastly, and this includes South High School in total as well as the academies, hosted a fabulous open house where potential incoming ninth graders were able to learn about South the academies, the tour spaces, et cetera. Applications, the window is now open, and applications are due by January 7th. The applications for the academies are specific. We have to do those every year, so. And that does conclude my report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Baumgart. Appreciate that. Moving on to our consent agenda, Mr. Clark, did we have any gifts given to us this past month?
Yes, we did. There we go. Just one gift. Whittier Elementary School received $1,000 from River Glen Christian Church to help pay for activities and after-school program services.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that gift. Your generosity is always appreciated, and it continues. This is a great giving community. Your agenda tonight includes various categories for approval. If any board member wishes to have an item set aside for separate consideration, you will have that opportunity given a little bit later. Included in items for approval are the decisions of the expulsion panel, which met on November 29th, 2021. A confidential communication regarding the details of the expulsion was in your Friday packet, along with the minutes included under item number 1-H. If any board member wishes to discuss this item, we have scheduled an executive session at the close of our regular meeting. Approval of the consent agenda confirms a full board agreement with the expulsion panel's action. We also have a number of policies and bylaws included in the consent agenda. Revisions to policy number 100, definitions, policy number 144.5, board member behavior and code of conduct, 2700.01, school performance and accountability report, 2266, non-discrimination on the basis of sex in education programs or activities, 4162, controlled substance and alcohol policy for employees who transport students, 7440.01, video surveillance and electronic monitoring, 3216, staff dress and grooming, 3120, employment of professional staff, 3120.04, employment of substitutes for professional staff, 4120, employment of support staff, 4120.04, employment of substitutes for support staff. And we deleted policy number 144.2, board member ethics, replaced by 144.5, and policy 174.2, performance report, which replaced 27.01. So at this time, if any board member would like to set aside anything for separate considerations, or whether it be one of the policies that I had just read off, please say so at this time. Dr. Piasek?
Thank you. I would like to ask to set aside policies, four policies, 3120, 3120.04, 4120, and 4120.04, simply for a minor revision.
Okay. Did you get those, Bill?
Yes, I do, and we'll be just taking that out another month. We're going to take it on to the next month.
Oh, okay. But you want to talk about it tonight, which we can.
We actually don't need to. There's not an urgent policy, so it might just be easier to go back to committee to make those. It's just really an issue of consistency in language. So it might just be easier to go back there and bring it back to consent in January.
Fair enough.
We're fine with that.
Is there anything else that anyone would like to set aside?
There's a correction. You missed, I'm not pointing out to you, there was a policy I didn't hear read to you, and that was quite simply 4216, support staff dress and grooming. We had two dress and grooming policies in here.
42...
I think you read the first one, but not...
16?
Yeah. So I'm just saying that's still in here.
Okay, and what was the title again, Bill?
Support staff dress and grooming.
Okay, gotcha. We will add that in. Okay.
Yeah, it's in, on the paper it's in there.
Okay. I must
We're
have,
okay with that, yeah.
I must have skipped over it with my eyeballs.
You were just going so fast there, we could hardly keep up with it.
Is there anything else that anyone would like to have set aside for separate consideration? Oh, yes, Dr. Piasek.
Just a question of order. Would we need to take it up in the committee discussion to take a vote to send it back to policy committee, or are we combining that here? To remove it from consent agenda? We could take that vote in the committee section if you want to.
Yeah, we would vote on that now, but I don't think we actually have to have a vote on that.
Okay.
If it's pulled out,
Yeah,
the vote would be on everything but that.
yes. So we have just removed those 4 policies. We'll send them back to committee. What you're asking is, should we take a vote on whether we should send them back to committee or not? Would you like to do that?
I think we should do that during the committee discussion.
Make the motion.
Well, or we could make
Do
it
that now.
here.
Sure.
We could make it here at this time.
Yep.
Would you like to make that motion?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Prepared to do that?
That's
So I
seconded.
I would move to set aside policy 3120, 3120-04, 4120, and 4120-04, and send back to the policy committee for further discussion.
Okay, is there a second on that? Second by Mr. Baumgart. Any further discussion? Okay, Sue, take the roll call vote.
Greg Dietz.
Aye.
Karen Reinacek.
Aye.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye.
William Baumgart.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Amanda Ratti.
Aye.
Joseph Como.
Aye, passes 8-0. Those 4 will go back to committee. Appreciate that. Amanda, will you please present the rest of the
Yes, sir.
consent agenda?
Earlier this evening, the Human Resource and Compensation Committee approved resignations of 2 staff and 1 modified teacher contracts. The information was provided in your packet, and an addendum was placed at your desk. I move that the consent agenda be approved as amended.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Second by Mr. McCaffrey. Further discussion? Okay, Sue, please take the roll call vote.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Aye.
Greg Dietz.
Aye.
Amanda Ratti.
Aye.
William Baumgart.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye.
Karen Reinacek.
Aye.
Joseph Como.
Aye, passes 8-0, Sue. Moving on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Siebert.
Thank you, Mr. Como. So we're going to do 2 things this evening in the superintendent's report. The first will be our monthly COVID update. And so we'll just walk through this really quickly. Similar slides to what we've been showing month to month. You can see we're still at a high point back in September, but we started to tick up. The month of November was a little bit busier, but overall our staff cases remain relatively low. Same with our student cases. We still had that big number back in September. November was a busier month. I'll talk a little bit more about November throughout Waukesha County as it relates to kids, but we are still well below. It's the busiest month of the year, but well below a year ago at this particular point. Here, we just see a breakdown of students from both the positive and self-quarantine, which is another way to just show you exactly what we showed you in the last slide, essentially, in terms of the trends and the rates. And here's when we combine staff and students. And where you can see in the blue where the majority of the cases are, which is new, and it's been the top of the entire pandemic, is elementary level cases. And we've seen more and more of those in the school district of Waukesha as well as in Waukesha County. And so last month, actually, in Waukesha County, 34.4% of all the confirmed cases in the county were ages under the age of 20, which is the highest percentage in that group since the pandemic began. And there were 1,056 cases among the under 10 age group, which marked an increase from October and more than double any previous month. And then the under 10 age group made up 18.4% of all confirmed cases in the month of November. So something just for us to continue to monitor and to watch, but overall still much lower than we were a year ago. Just a quick review of the transition criteria. We continue to monitor those on our website and on a daily basis. And we've been consistently meeting 3 of those, 1 internal with our subrate, and then 2 external with the acute bed and the ICU bed rate of our local hospitals. So overall, we'll continue to monitor. We, for the most part, feel really good about the data, and we will continue to update you on a monthly basis on this front.
Thank you.
So with that being said, the other thing I wanted to do is, I really just wanted to build upon what Mrs. Roddy and Mr. Como started us out with tonight, which was very well done, and just thank everybody for their support during this very difficult time in the Waukesha community. From the district's perspective, the week of November 29th was when we came back after those couple of days off and then the Thanksgiving holiday. That was a very unique week in the school district of Waukesha for both the students and the staff. And while the healing certainly began after that Sunday evening, the 21st, that was the first opportunity that we truly had to come together as a district community and support each other in that healing process. So I wanted to take an opportunity tonight to really just thank our students and thank our teachers and staff, as well as our families, as they worked together, listened, talked, hugged, and supported one another. I also wanted to extend the gratitude beyond just our district. We received just an outpouring of support from our community members and local agencies, local businesses, and our neighboring school districts. And specifically, we'd like to really thank the Healing Hearts of Waukesha County, Waukesha County Family Services, and our local school districts of Hamilton, Elmbrook, Whitnall, Pewaukee, Union Grove, Oconomowoc, and Arrowhead, who all provided on-site support for our students when we return to school. We also would like to thank the Waukesha Fire Department and the Waukesha Police Department for their incredible response at the Christmas parade. And I'd really like to thank, again, our kids, our staff, and our families for their resiliency in the face of what's truly an unexplainable event. And I'd also like to thank Mr. Como, Dr. Cook, Luke Pinion, our student services and director team, our cabinet, our administrative team, and our counselors, social workers, and psychologists for their leadership during this time and on an ongoing basis. We certainly know that this healing process is just beginning, and it will be a long one. And many of our students, staff, and community members witnessed horrific events that human eyes should never have to witness. But we also, during this time, have witnessed some of the best in our community. And as Mr. Como and Mrs. Roddy said earlier, we hope that that best continues to shine, and that going forward our focus remains in this collaborative and supportive space which truly benefits everyone in our district and our community. So I certainly know as a board that you are proud to join all of us in this great community in being Waukesha Strong, and so I appreciate all of your support, and we appreciate all of your support, as does the community, and we'll continue to move forward together. So thank you, Mr. Coleman.
Thank you, Dr. Siebert.
You bet.
Moving on to our committee reports, that's where we do a lot of the heavy lifting. We had a couple long meetings this week at FNF and TNL. We'll hear those reports, but first up this month, I'm going to start with the policy committee given by Mr. Bungard.
Okay, I'm not going to make it hard on you, Joe. We have no action items. As discussed about 10 minutes ago, we have 4 policies we'll be bringing from the consent agenda to the committee meeting next Tuesday, which will at that point be looking into the action again. We do have 4 6 discussion policies. 0144.3, conflict of interest. This is addressed at the board members. 2430, district-sponsored clubs and activities. This is just to make sure that we are consistent with how we're dealing with people that can participate in our clubs and activities. 9270, home-based, private, and tribal schooling. Also a situation where we're looking at the public here and ways that they may not be attending school here, but may be participating in an activity, if it's available. And 1130, 3232, 3230, and 4230, conflict of interest, but this is for staff, professional staff, and support staff. All of these are discussion items which we'll be covering next week at our committee meetings, but if you have any questions about them this evening, you may address them or not.
Yeah, any questions? Any discussion? All right.
That's really why we're going into it next committee.
Sure, sure.
But I wanted to let people know.
Fair enough.
Thank you. The policy, next committee meeting, there's a little switch here. The policy committee meeting normally held on the third Tuesday, because that's like 2 weeks away. We're going to hold it next week on December 14th at 6 PM instead of December 21st at 6 PM. So it will be next week. We'll be anxiously having you attend.
Excellent.
We have a lot coming, a warning. That's after I told you to attend, you notice?
Right, thank you.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Bungard. I'm moving on to finance and facilities given by Mr. McCaffrey.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have no action items on the agenda this evening, but we do have 5 discussion information items. The first discussion information item is fundraising discussion. Kyle Lemieux and Brian Schley were in attendance to discuss a proposed fundraising process for athletic facilities. Since the last meeting, they have outlined their guiding principles for each project, including safety, legal compliance, functionality, shared advantages, and school pride. The next steps include inventorying the district's facilities, exploring funding options, reviewing the 5-year capital improvement plan, and refining the committee process for project selection. They have set a goal to identify quick wins prior to August 2022 in order to take advantage of the next fundraising cycle.
Any discussion on this point? Yes, Dr. Pasek.
Thank you. I was able to listen in on the discussion regarding fundraising, and I just really have a comment and a request back to the committee that for some consideration. I think there's actually a connection between a topic that's in the policy meeting discussion and the fundraising for athletic facilities, and that's related to district-sponsored clubs and activities. Just kind of drawing on some things from the past. So the ask back to the committee is just to consider that when we're fundraising, that we don't allow exclusive access to outside groups that may in some way compromise our students' access to our facilities. And I know that we've had a lot of support from community groups, and there's a lot, I mean, just the example over the last few weeks, there's a lot of generosity in our community. But I think it's really important that as we're fundraising, we consider that access to our students is also a priority, and that we don't start to create exclusive elements within the district that would not or that would prohibit students from having access.
I would agree.
Thank you.
Yeah, understood. That should be probably to both committees potentially. We'll see where that.
Yep.
And actually, we will have that committee up next Tuesday. We'll go into that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think we'll be okay.
Any other questions or discussion on that item? Okay, Pat.
All right, thank you. Our second item is Appendix 20, Hazard and Threat Specific Procedure. Dr. Cook updated the committee on the Crisis Response Manual, which was initially approved by the board 7 to 8 years ago. After the violent incident at South was debriefed, some improvements to the manual have been made. Updates include, how do we transition from a lockdown to a lockout to an administrative hold and recovery for an active shooter? A checklist for bomb threats was provided, and notification of superintendent and law enforcement was added to an intruder or hostage situation. All secondary administrators and SROs were consulted with prior to making the adjustments.
This is a discussion item. Any questions or comments on this item? Yes, Dr. Piasek.
Just maybe a request for potential further future discussion, and that's I would like at least a committee to have some discussion about communication back to families at the end of some of these events, just so that we know what's in policy and procedure and how we kind of close the loop with families. I think, tensions are high, and certainly even if it's a short lockdown, I think students are feeling that anxiety. So whatever we can do to close the loop on communications. And again, I'm thinking of parents and family members as the stakeholder in that. I think just some follow-up discussion about that would be helpful.
Agreed.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Mr. McCaffrey.
Our third item was the monthly budget report. Revenues and expenditures are within budgeted limits for both the general and special education fund. The district is operating in accordance with our approved budget and all other funds as well. Any
questions or comments on the monthly budget? Okay, Matt?
Fourth item is the 2022-2023 budget planning. The committee reviewed the projected revenue limit authority the board can anticipate over the next several years. For fiscal year 2022-2023, current projections show that the district will lose $3.4 million in revenue authority from the current year. The committee also discussed the impact a slightly higher CPI rate could have on the development of the fiscal year 2022-2023 and the potential impact for a similar CPI rate in 2023-2024. Administration is working on a plan that addresses these fiscal challenges for the 2022-2023 budget cycle.
Questions, discussion, comments on the 2022-2023 budget, which we work on actually throughout the entire year with F&F.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. McCaffrey?
And my fifth item is the ESSER presentation. Mr. Clark reviewed the initial draft of the ESSER funds budget plan. ESSER 3 requires the opportunity for input from school community members. However, it is the committee's belief that this community outreach should include ESSER 2 and 3. ESSER 1 was fully expended in the district's initial COVID response for the 2020-2021 school year. The final ESSER plan will be a multi-year process with expenditures likely extending into fiscal year 2024. The current draft of the plan includes funds for student instruction, services and outreach, site technology and safety, and building system upgrades. The Board of Education will be asked in the months ahead to begin approving ESSER-related expenditures. If the community would like to provide feedback on the current or future drafts of the plan as we move forward through the process, please feel free to forward your thoughts via email to ESSER, that's ESSER, and it's not case sensitive, at waukesha.k12.wi.us.
Any questions or discussion on this? Okay, Mr. McCaffrey?
Alrighty, that concludes my report. The next Finance and Facilities meeting is scheduled for January 10th, 2022 at 5:30 PM in the boardroom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to teaching and learning, given by Mr. Dietz.
Thank you, Mr. President. The last Teaching and Learning Committee meeting was held last evening, December 7th, 2021 at 6 PM here in the boardroom. One action item and 5 discussion information items appear on the agenda for teaching and learning this evening. Our one action item tonight is the approval of the Advanced Placement English 11 Language and Composition textbook. The Advanced Placement English 11 Language and Composition course is seeking to adopt a new textbook resource to align to the newly revised College Board curriculum and exam. Over the course of the 2020-2021 school year, the AP 11 teachers piloted the text, The Language of Composition. This text is highly recommended by the AP College Board because of its alignment to the curriculum, standards, and rigorous learning experience is expected in the AP Language and Composition course. Over the course of the last 2 months, the AP teacher team and Rachel Herman, our Director of Secondary Learning, have presented to the Teaching and Learning Committee the rationale for the recommendation to adopt this textbook. On a vote of 5-0, the Teaching and Learning Committee approved the Advanced Placement English 11 Language and Composition textbook as presented. We request board approval, and I so move.
Is there a second to that? Second by Mr. Baumgart. Discussion? Mr. Baumgart?
Just one additional thing I'd like to add, and you see it in your sheets, but I thought it was very impressive. The number of students that have been asked to use this product and try it out, so to speak, is in the hundreds, all positive. I think that's very important when the kids themselves are saying this is a good book. And a lot of us had chances to look at pieces of it, and I feel the same way, so.
Yeah, I think the student input, one of the things we're looking for is, we know students learn better if they're engaged. And that was one of the things that we did take from the comments that the students had made. And that's a key to learning. It's a key to having kids develop lifelong learning skills and wanting to learn and go after things, whatever their interests are. Yes. Other questions or comments? Okay, Sue, please take the roll call vote to approve the Advanced Placement English 11 Language and Composition textbook.
Amanda Roddy.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Karen Reinacek.
Sorry, aye.
Greg Dietz.
Aye.
William Baumgart.
Aye.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Aye.
Joseph Como.
Aye, passes 8-0. Sue? Mr. Dietz?
Our first discussion information item was an update on the adoption of the Advanced Placement Math textbooks. The Advanced Placement Calculus courses, including AP Calculus AB, AP Calculus BC, Accelerated Calculus, and Accelerated Class Calculus 2, are seeking to adopt a new textbook resource to align to the newly revised College Board curriculum. Rachel Herman, our Director of Secondary Learning, Dan Paczynski, the math instructional coach, and high school math teachers reported that over the course of the last 2 months, the AP Calculus teachers analyzed textbook opinions and options to ensure alignment to our vision for mathematics, and the team has decided to pilot 2 textbooks, Multivariable Calculus 11th edition by Larson Edwards and Calculus AP edition 2nd edition by Briggs, Cochran, and Gillett. Each text is highly recommended by the AP College Board because of its alignment to the curriculum, the standards, and the rigorous learning experience expected in the AP courses. Throughout the pilot process, the team will be investigating each resource for its usability, assessment variety, and technology enhancement. This team will also seek feedback from students.
Any questions or comments on looking at these next AP books? I know we had one really excited committee member. All right.
We don't need to talk about that.
There we go. There we go.
We could talk about it all day long.
Mr. Dietz.
Okay. Our second discussion information item was an high school English update. Rachel Herman, Director of Secondary Learning, and Nancy Ronke, Secondary Literacy Coordinator, along with 2 of our English teachers, presented a high school English update. The goals of the discussion were to highlight and share the comprehension research that was grounded in our ELA Visioning Team's theory of action with family and community feedback on their theory of action. Next steps that will unite both the middle and high school ELA visioning teams around a common theory of action was also shared. And finally, information about the curricular resources, My Perspectives from Savas and Pearson, and Springboard from College Board that we will be piloting from mid-December through April was provided.
Any questions or comments on this item? Okay, Mr. Dietz.
Our third discussion information item was a secondary social studies update. Rachel Herman, our Director of Secondary Learning, brought along 4 high school social studies teachers to the Teaching and Learning Committee to update the board members on the high school social studies team's activities as they began their curricular revision in October. The team consists of social studies teachers from all of our high school sites, building administrators, ESL teacher leaders, and special education teachers. This team conducted a data analysis looking at the School District of Waukesha's 10th grade forward exam data, evaluated their current scope and sequence, and then examined and unpacked the standards and the proficiencies for social studies at the high school level. The team also vetted a variety of curricular resources to support student learning as they move into the pilot resources in the winter and spring of the upcoming school year. The curricular resources that they are exploring are as follows: McGraw-Hill, Human Geography, World History, and U.S. History; Savas Realize, World History, U.S. History, and also TCI for Human Geography.
Any questions or comments on this? Yes, Ms. Reincheck.
Thank you. I have a concern over losing economics and just moving it to an elective. Can you expand on that discussion?
Jody, would you like to take that?
Sure, I can give a little bit of insight on that. That is currently a recommendation from the team. The new standards, Ms. Reinacek, that just came out have economics as a strand, a pretty comprehensive strand that is built throughout all social studies courses throughout the continuum at the high school level. So because of the standards change, that is different than in the past where the standard was just isolated to the course. So although we're not in phase 2 yet of that curricular design process, the economics standards and the learning strands will be very comprehensive and built into all levels of 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, with also then an option for economics as an elective. But we will dig into that more. Your colleague Kelly also mentioned that as a concern, but I think as you learn more about the standards and see how they're built and infused into all the courses, hopefully you'll have better confidence in that it is infused throughout the entire continuum of social studies.
Thank you. I feel what is happening right now with our national debt being at 29 trillion, inflation for the first time in decades, some of the hundreds of ridiculous comments that were sent my way via email regarding it's free money, it's not your money, it's the government's, things like that. It just really strikes me as people needing to know more that there's not an endless supply of resources and money. I think economics is essential and needed and necessary right now more than ever. So I would really like to see that if this is going to be broken up into all areas and all years, I would really like to see how strong that is, because it's got to be pretty powerful in order to take it away and just have it be elective. Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Mrs. Zenobia.
To Mrs. Landish's point, being infused, does that mean that it will be in all of the topics that we see here, world history, government? Is it going to be in all the textbooks? There's going to be sections of economics? I mean, is that how the approach is going to be?
Yes, I mean, the way the state standards are set up currently, there are sort of thematic standards that are built into all those grade level courses. So economics is a standalone in and of itself. I just have like there are 5 sort of global standards in front of me. Economic reasoning to understand issues, analyzing how decisions are made, which is microeconomics, analyzing how the economy functions as a whole, that's macroeconomics, evaluating government decisions and their impact on individuals, businesses, markets, role of government, assessing economic interdependence of regions and countries through trade. So all of those global standards then have like learning intentions underneath it, upon which will be built in through textbook units and curricular design in those areas. What we like too about it, and to address Karen's similar concern, is that students would get economics and be introduced to more global economics at a younger age, where economics is currently offered just to the older high school level students. So we like the fact that they're getting it earlier and on a more formative basis.
Okay. Mr. Zenobia, did you have more?
I did see part of the discussion last night, what I was able to get through during the day-to-day with the marathon that you had. But I also noticed that you, if I understood this correctly, personal finance was going to be an elective, or that's going to be broken out? Is that correct?
So we're currently looking at offering personal finance as a required elective. I understand that sounds like an oxymoron, right? But currently we have 9.5 credits that students take at the high school level towards electives. This 0.5 then would be part of that 9.5 in order to graduate. There was a question asked, I think by Mr. Como, could it perhaps be infused into the social studies total credits. The team is not recommending that at this time. We have a pretty high credit requirement graduation rate currently, even in comparison to many of our county counterparts. So we feel good about that rigor in terms of number of credits for students to graduate. So again, this would continue to be suggested to be an elective.
Okay. Thank you. Dr. Piasek?
Thank you. I did share a lot of comments last night, so I will try to just kind of hit the most important parts. I did ask to see the mapping of the econ standards currently into what would be the new social studies proposal, because I think if we're taking an entire class worth of economics and infusing it into the social studies curriculum, then we really have to debate what's the appropriate way to teach economics, and is it better to apply it to individual events throughout history, or is it better to stack the economic concepts because we know they're interwoven, better to be taught through social studies concepts or better to be taught by an economics teacher. So I think that's the conversation that we need to have. I also, I'm listening to the discussion about wanting to bring economics in earlier. Is it possible that we could bring it in earlier, literally earlier to freshman year? Are there other timings that we could look at? And is there anything that we could do at the middle school level to help prepare students better for that 10th grade social studies standards evaluation? Because that's really, if I understand, that's really our benchmark for how our kids have done in social studies once they've gotten to 10th grade. And it might be too late, for lack of a better term, but have we reached a point at that level sophomore year that we can't fix the problem? So I would just like to understand, I think we all would like to see a little bit more detail about how this comes together. And I think we have more of a guarantee that economics gets taught if it's its own class versus being infused into other social studies classes, but I can see the benefits of both approaches.
Anyone else have questions or comments? Okay, Mr. Dietz?
Our fourth discussion information item was procedural compliance self-assessment update. Patty Howell, Director of Special Education, Jason Gahan, Director of Secondary Special Education, and Amanda Mack, Director of Elementary Special Education, attended our meeting last evening to present an update on procedural compliance self-assessment. The PCSA is a required review process for special education, and it is completed every 5 years by every district in the state. It involves a review of randomly drawn special education evaluations and individualized educational plans or IEPs. The team reviewed the paperwork for 62 cases in the areas of evaluation and IEP content, and 12 of those cases were also reviewed for implementation of practice. IEPs that require revisions have been addressed with staff serving students this year. The revised IEP paperwork must be done and reported to the Department of Public Instruction by January 15th. Additionally, the errors noted will be the basis of a corrective action work that they will continue to discuss in their professional development. The intention is to make our practice better, and the 5 most common errors were discussed with staff at the Summer Institute sessions with all special education staff involved. During the Winter Institute on January 17th, the accuracy sought in IEP writing will be discussed and reviewed, and staff will have the opportunity to work with peers to discuss and put changes into practice.
Any questions or discussion on this? I just have one. Joe, do you mind, Dr. Cook, do you mind telling us what that next step is? There's a step beyond once we submit the report in January, and then there's another step?
Yeah, we have an on-site review, so there'll be, we submit this work in January. I think it's in April. The DPI will come in and do another random sampling for verification of, like, have we systematically improved our practice? And then they'll do an on-site review at the end of this whole process to ensure that everything has been corrected. So we have another draw, we have another evaluation And then we have an on-site visit by our DPI consultant. So those are the next steps, and you'll hear more through the T&L committee in the next several months.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Yeah, Mr. Zenobia.
I just had one, Dr. Cook. Basically, it talks about some of the errors that some of the reports had. It said about 25% of them passed, and then many of them had 1 to 3 errors. I'm trying to understand what were those errors? Are these just paperwork errors, or
They're anything from an IEP that doesn't have a box checked correctly. There could be an incorrect date on an IEP. That would trigger the error. So for instance, if you're going in to fill in the date, say the IEP is due December 20th of 2022 because you did it this year, but you would put in 2021, that triggers an error notification. There were boxes that were checked and there wasn't the appropriate statement following it. So it's sequenced, like check this box that says reading impacts the student's disability impacts their reading. You check the box yes, but you don't put the appropriate statement then in the IEP. So they're errors that we hope to correct, like at the proofreading level, but sometimes they get through. For some perspective, when we did this self-assessment the last time in 2014-15, we were non-compliant in all areas, and we had staff that had submitted IEPs that had incomplete pages. We put a number of checks in after that self-assessment to make sure that all IEPs are done in the timely manner, that all pages are accounted for, that all the staff members have completed what was necessary. So after this round of assessment, and then once we complete this, we'll have systematic practices in place in our district that include the peer review, that include the administrative review of the IEP, so we have fewer and fewer of those errors in the future. For some perspective, we have 1,800 students in special education in the district, and across that volume, some of those minor errors are going to be, it's natural that you're going to have some. We want to go back and make sure that's perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Discussion? Okay, Mr. Dietz.
Okay. Our 5th discussion information item was a key performance indicators update, also considering the Department of Public Instruction state report cards. The Department of Public Instruction publicly released the 2020-2021 school and district report cards on November 16th. Amy Riebel, our data communications liaison, reviewed the recent changes to the report card format, reviewed our district and school report cards for this year, and discussed our report card historical trends. We also discussed the report card results in the context of the district's key performance indicators.
Any questions or comments on this? Discussion? Mr. Zenobia?
Yes, thank you. What I gathered from the report cards this time around was there were some changes. And so, given those changes, it may have made our baseline from previous years. Our baseline has been shifted, obviously with COVID last year, and then some changes here. We have improvements, but I was looking for the slide here. It looks like if we go back, I'm on slide. I know people can't see this. I'm on slide 27 of 41.
I got it memorized.
Oh, okay, good. But it looks like, we had a score of 71, 2015, 2016. We trended down, and then we came back up, and now we're at 70.4. And it looks like we were having some issues before COVID, and we're trending in the right direction. Understandably, this year the previous year was down. I guess my overall question is, if these report cards have changed in some of the ways they look at the data have changed, and that would shift what our baseline is. How do we internally understand these report cards for each school, given the budget that we have to put together in the coming months, to really understand, where we're lacking? I guess my question is, internally, how can we understand these report cards on a school-by-school basis that accurately reflect what is occurring in the district, given that these report cards may not be doing that for us?
Yeah, anytime a process changes, longevity data becomes more difficult to look at. Yeah, that's accurate. Jody, do you want to address how we're going about this?
I can take a shot.
And we don't have control, just so you know, we don't have control over what DPI changes. And it happens in other areas too, not just the state report card.
I'm sure Dr. Siebert and his experience can chime in too, but I'm going to give it a shot here. Anthony, I think it's a valid question. I think since I've been in central office, certainly there hasn't been a consistent metric. There has been nuances of changes from the state almost every year. Okay, so with that said, we pivot and we adjust and we continue to, do the best we can for kids. What I will tell you though with that is, if you noticed on the slide deck also, we do have some pretty global trend data that we still are showing for the past 5 years. You can go back even further. The state report cards I think started in 2011, if I'm not, well, even before that. So we have 5 years worth of pretty strong trend data. Even if the categories change or the metrics change, we still are able to see school by school some pretty decent patterns, both of academic success as well as academic improvement. And so you'll see those schools listed there, and you'll see for the past 5 years kind of what those metrics show. So we do, and the board does have a global perspective of that. I also will say our schools continue to do the best job of using student data, personal student data, formative data, test data, day-to-day assessment data. I walked through an elementary school the other day and they have the data wall in their faculty lounge visible, with students that they know they are needing to work on with intervention and targeted support. So the school level data is still where the magic happens and where we can best provide support. I think, to your point, as a board member, right, you want to get a handle globally on where the successes are in the system and where the areas of improvement are, and I think you're able to see that. I think what Amy tried to highlight last night also that's really important we're split about 50-50 down our district in terms of how the state ranks the priority area weighting. And so if you look at that, we have about half of our schools where growth is weighted more as a percentage towards the total outcome, and we have half where achievement is weighted more. And so, the nuances of the report card are complex. I thought Amy did a really good job of trying to provide a global overview. I think it's a basic enough understanding that you can see how the student groups are performing according to schools, what our enrollment numbers are compared to schools, what our demographic numbers are according to the schools. So hopefully you can still reach that, broader scale perspective when you're looking at, to your point, budgeting and decision making in terms of fiscal and academic responsibility for the district. I don't know, Jim, if you want to add anything to that.
Well, I think you did a wonderful job, Ms. Landish. I think we just have to keep in mind the report cards are one tool. We have as Ms. Landish said, we have our formative data, our map testing, our ongoing classroom assessments that we can make decisions on. Every school has a different demographic package. Every school has a different socioeconomic package. Those are factors that we have to take into consideration. And that's why we have our district goal setting process as well, to try and address specific trends in specific areas in each school as well. So I think through a number of different ways we can triangulate how schools are doing and how we continue to elevate the performance of everybody, not to mention those key performance indicators that as we continue to develop those will give us by school and by district the trend data that we need to see where we're strong and where we need to continue to grow.
Just one follow-up. I know there was, it looks like each school had written an overview of their schools. I guess the question I would have then would be, if each school individually looked at their report card, how would they interpret the data? Would they agree? Would they say, no, we're doing better than this, maybe we're not? I mean, internally speaking, if we were to ask that question of each school, what would the answers be? Obviously not, we don't have those right this second, but.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair question. I think our principals overall would say it's a fair assessment of progress. I would say all our principals are highly motivated to do better for all kids. And until, all kids are at that level of proficiency that everyone expects for them, they will not be satisfied. That's just how our administrators are. So I think they also know that this is the most public-facing document that we have, right? Any person coming into our system, any realtors, any parents will just, Google, go on and see that score. They'll just look at a number and they'll judge a school by it. So I will say our principals also, as you could see tonight in bright lights, are proud of the fact that we are comprehensive high schools, and we think we offer a lot of comprehensive opportunities. Academics certainly most important in my opinion, but offering a comprehensive school experience for all kids that they can be proud of. But I would think they would say it's a pretty accurate estimation of both achievement as well as gaps that need to be closed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay. Mr. Baumgart?
For Anthony, I can give you a solid example, plural, of that, because I sent out a little congratulations to some of the...
I don't think it's turned on, Bill.
I sent out a little congratulations to a couple of those high flyers that came in quite high, and their answer is, yeah, it was really good, but they immediately know what they're going after for the next time around. So to answer the question, they don't take this as a medal that they can hang up. They just want to figure out what can I do next. And they're very forthcoming in answering that question when you ask it. So that's the way I would put it.
Yeah, Mr. Dietz.
Just another thing I think the district can be really proud of is that based on the report last night, there is a lot of collaboration amongst schools, sharing the successes and the accomplishments with others so that they can learn and grow with each additional, in the additional areas as well. So that's something that's throughout the sale process as well as, individual attempts on their own to accomplish that, so.
Anyone else on this topic? Okay, Mr. Dietz.
Thank you, Mr. President. That concludes the Teaching and Learning Committee report for this evening. Our next meeting will be held on Tuesday, January 4th, 2022 at 6 p.m. here in the boardroom.
Thank you, Mr. Dietz. Government Relations Committee, given by Ms. Reincheck.
Thank you, President Como. Our Government Relations Committee will be meeting next Wednesday. We do not have any action or discussion items tonight. So next week, December 15th, 9 o'clock, right here in the boardroom. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to Human Resource and Compensation Committee, given by Ms. Roddy.
Thank you, Mr. President. There are no action or discussion items to report this evening. Our next HR and Compensation Committee meeting will be held January 12th, 2022 at 6:15 at the room across the hall.
Okay, thank you. And that ends our committee reports. Moving on to other business. Are there any recommendations for future meetings? There were a couple things that were mentioned throughout. We have note of those. Any additional ones? Mr. Zenobia?
I think, in light of all the trials our community has had in the past few weeks, that we should, as a board, consider how we communicate with the public on a lot of different instances and how we are going to tackle that issue. I think we've been very strong in some areas recently, and I think we've also been very weak in a couple of areas. So I think the way we communicate and what the board should do in that area is a topic we should address next meeting or through one of the committees. I think it also goes to the safety and security of our schools too, so I believe that's probably part of the conversation.
Okay. Ms. Ryanchek?
Thank you. I had a member of our community reach out and just want to know why we're not meeting with juniors to talk about college one-on-one. The high school counselors used to meet one-on-one with the students and parents to talk about their future. And what I have learned is now we have just a gathering in the auditorium where things are talked about, but I think that specific meeting with a guidance counselor to go through options and to talk about strengths and things like that, that really helps narrow in on the child's future. So I just don't think it's a time to cut that out right now.
Okay. Any other topics? Dr. Pasick?
Thank you. I would just like to again ask that we could open for discussion again the venue for our full board meetings. I noticed again tonight we had a group across the hall. There was applause in the group across the hall, not in the boardroom. And I just really am looking for consistency in how we include the community in our meetings. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. We do have a need for executive session this evening. The only one that we need is item C. Would I have a motion on that?
The entire item C?
Yep,
Or
the whole thing, including A,
including which?
including little letter A, small case A.
I don't have, I don't have. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. We got a small G and E up there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
The part on the property is not needed. I just put it on there in case the committee would want the board to meet close session.
So it's really starting with the word "and"? So.
Why don't you do it? You can make a motion.
Sure. I'll move. I'll move to confer with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is likely to become involved. The board shall convene to discuss pending litigation related to COVID mitigation measures and to discuss potential legal and other action related to a possible defamation action. I so move. Second by Mr. McCaffrey. Sue, will you please take the roll call vote?
Karen Reinacek.
Aye.
Amanda Roddy.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye.
William Baumgart.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Aye.
Greg Dietz.
Aye.
Joseph Como.
Aye, passes 8-0, Sue. So that concludes our open session portion of our meeting tonight. And we will go immediately, we'll give you 5 minutes. So
Yeah.
let's say 9:25, we'll meet back here for closed session.
Good.